Need a higher chair. Oh, sorry. There we go. I was a little too low before. All right, welcome. I am Dr. Toya Davis, and this is Ask Me Anything, where I show up to take questions from the community, people who stop by. Questions can range pretty much all topics, anything that has to do with spirituality, ancestral veneration, understanding Akashic Records, universal laws, self-empowerment. All of those things for me go together. And so we show up here. I used to do the first and third Wednesday. But now that I have a community, the Chi community, where I show up there to do live coaching and all of that, I've switched this to only once a month. So I will now be showing up here the third Thursday. Today is Wednesday. The third Wednesday of the month. All right. So when you come on, let me know that you're here. I would love to see who is here with me. So you can drop it in the chat. Um, Okay. Today, hey Talia, Starly, hi. Is it Deshay? Desha? Hmm. I hate to say people's name wrong. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started tonight. I have quite a few questions that came in. Good to see y'all. It's been so long, right? Since I've done this. I think I didn't do it at all during what was the month before this one? March. Yeah, it was spring break. I didn't do it at all during March. And so it's felt like a really, really long time. Deja. Oh, I was very far off. Okay. Hi, Deja. Thank you. um, oh, good evening, everybody. So glad to see y'all. Y'all know I like the energy from the people. So good job. Oh, yes. Please hit the like button if you're here and share. Oh, look, my cousin's here. All right. So I have a few questions. We're going to go ahead and get started. The way this works is that I receive questions ahead of time sometimes. So I start with those, but you're also free to drop questions in the chat. Okay. I do a pretty good job of, seeing when questions pop up in the chat. So feel free to ask questions. If I run out of questions and my time is, and I still have time, maybe I'll have a topic to talk about. Maybe I won't. We just go with the flow. All right. So let me see. I don't know why I didn't have my questions together ahead of time. And I really don't remember at all what it was. So hold on one second, y'all. All right. So first question. Oh, okay. There are a lot. Okay, let's see. So let's go with all right. So one of the things that I talk about or that's really important to understand is that base level understanding, right? Us here in this physical body is just an aspect, right? It is an outward manifestation of kind of a larger complex of who we are as individuals, right? So we have our soul self. Our soul self is the aspect of us that continues to grow, to evolve. When we die, it continues to exist. It just grows and evolves, right? The soul self or the soul aspect of us is forever present. Okay. And in each lifetime, each time we come back, the soul self will choose to embody something different, a different physical vessel, right? So for me in this lifetime, this is the vessel that I chose to embody. Okay. When I choose as a soul to embody a new vessel, it doesn't mean that the things that have happened before in my other iterations and other incarnations just completely stop or go away. Those things continue to be there. But what happens is in my conscious mind, I don't remember them. Right. Sometimes we have experiences or we run into somebody and somebody just seems really familiar, like we've known them forever. There's kind of like an instant chemistry or connection, or we'll go to some place. We might travel and go someplace and the place feels absolutely like home, even though it's your first time there. Those are soul memories, right? Or they can be. Those can be memories that are prompted by those past iterations or incarnations of your soul. Okay. So, big picture, physical body goes, leaves, we experience life through this physical body. Soul self remains, continues to grow, evolve, have memories, experiences, memories, experiences, all of that stuff. When we come here, we don't remember it. We can spend this lifetime trying to remember why we made some of the choices that we made, right? So why did I choose to be a Black woman in this lifetime? Right? Why did I choose to um, be born into the family that I was born into? What are some of the lessons that I wanted to learn in this life? Right? Why do certain patterns or things or behaviors keep showing up? They might be showing up because there was something in there that I wanted to learn and experience that I wanted to have. So, part of the reason that we look at the soul kind of from detached from this physical body self is because it allows us to get a larger perspective of why and how. Okay. And once we are able to pull back and detach it from this physical body, it allows us to kind of be able to move through things, as far as healing, as far as understanding, as far as stopping patterns. It allows us to be able to move through those things a little bit easier or faster. Faster is relative, right? But it gives us a bigger perspective. So now, with that, if you can imagine that that's not just my experience, right? That's the experience of everybody. We're all having this collective experience just individually. My soul might be familiar with Starly's soul, right? Might be familiar with Deja's soul. We might have some past um, relationships. We might have had some past beef. We might have had, who knows what it is, right? And when we meet in the physical body, that soul self kicks in and is like, oh, wait, no, this is a thing. It could be an agreement that we made, whatever it is, right? And if we don't take a moment to step back and say, why am I having this experience? Why are we relating to each other in this way? Right? Literally, this person hasn't said a thing to me. Why am I being mean or nasty? Or why am I just like, I don't like her? Right? So take a moment to step back and say, why am I having this reaction or this experience? And that allows you to pull yourself from out of this 3D body and go into maybe some past life learning or understanding. Okay. So that's part one there. Okay. So the importance of detaching yourself from the now and being able to bring in past info and learning. So now what's coming up? People say, how do you do that? Yes, that wasn't a question, but that's the next logical step, right? So how do you do that? If you follow me, if you have listened to anything I say, you know that I am all about energy follows intent, right? That for me, it all comes down to that energy follows intent. Okay. So where we are able to kind of create or craft our intention and be clear in what that intention is, then we can trust and believe that our energy will follow that. So when we are working to kind of understand something, tap in, just be guided in the way that pushes our conscious mind to the back, I simply say, be very clear in your intention. Okay. This is base level or kind of, big picture. Be very clear in your intention. So if my intention is to understand why my boss and I are not getting along, that's my intention. All right. Actually, let me clarify that a little bit. If my intention is to understand, if my intention is to know if there are any past life situations or if there are any familial, because it could even be ancestral, but that's a whole nother line of stuff that we won't go down right now. right? But whatever it is that I want to investigate, I'm going to be very clear about setting that intention. Okay. And then, my process is we take a deep breath to just ground ourselves into the space, right? If we need to, you can give yourself some type of positive affirmative statement, something that's like, I am able to access all wisdom and guidance with ease. Okay, that's a very good statement. So you give yourself some type of affirmative statement, you breathe that into your body, and then you move forward with knowing that the intention that you set will allow you to move through. And then you just allow yourself to let your senses come forward, right? Do you receive information through hearing, through knowing, through seeing, through a feeling, right? How do you receive typically intuitive information? All forms are valid. And sometimes it might be this way and sometimes it might be another way. But the thing that I lead into here is first thought is always the right thought, right? And so oftentimes we get that first thought and then we're like, no, that was, that was me. That wasn't real. I didn't hear that. Or that was my mind thinking that. First thought is the right thought. Okay. So whatever comes up after you've set that intention, go with that. All right. So that is that one. Someone asked me, do I, okay, so a little bit of background if you are new to me. I, at this point, study kind of, I really lean into universal laws and understanding energy as a collective, really being in touch with ideas of like, the quantum field and just embodying this idea that we're all energy. Right. And because I embody the idea that not only we, but everything is energy, then that allows me to kind of move and understand and transition and all of that stuff in a different way. But in addition to that, I am also an initiated priestess in some African traditional religious systems, right? So that was pre, and then here I am now. And so what that has looked like for me is being able to, I'm going to say expand my knowing or understanding of what I learned in the kind of that spiritual context or spiritual ideas and those dogmas, and look at that against this larger lens of all things being energy. So someone asked me the question, particularly about that. And it says, do I continue to receive Ifa readings personally? So Ifa is an Orisha, well, Rumi loves the Orisha, but Ifa is the Orisha that you can go to. It's an Orisha, that's the point. You get readings, which is just information that can come to you in various points. So yes, I get them once a year. So I do not go to people in general, not even just that. I don't typically go to people outside of me to get a reading unless it's something that I am very attached to and I'm having a difficult time detaching myself, because if I can't detach myself from the information that I'm getting, I don't trust that I'm basically getting stuff that's clean or um or not jaded, right? Because the answers that we get are always determined by the question, and the questions that we ask. This is a really good point, y'all. Regardless of the how this topic came up, the questions that you ask about something are always going to be limited by your knowing. Okay, you can't ask something that you don't know, or you can't ask something or even think about something or conceive something if that particular thing has not surfaced in your knowing. So when we're doing our own work, when we're doing like our own investigations and things like that, sometimes the box that our knowing exists in limits our ability to actually see the information in a different way. So if I feel like I'm in that type of situation, I have absolutely no problem with going to get an outside perspective. And for me, that can take shape in a variety of ways. Really depends on what type of information I'm looking for. But yes, typically once a year for my birthday, I do a numerology reading, right? So at my birthday, I typically do a numerology reading for the year. I'll do my Ifa reading, and I'll get an Akashic record reading from someone that is other than myself. And then I allow that to kind of carry me throughout the year. All right. Next question says, Explain the difference between Ifa readings, prophecy, and Akashic readings. All right. So, prophecy. That's a good one. What do we think prophecy is? Tell me in the chat, what do you think prophecy is? Right? Kind of no matter what your background is, um then, we've all had some idea or inkling or feeling or, leaning into this idea of prophecy. So, what do you think prophecy is? Sammy, do I do all three with the same person? No, I do not. Um, no, the person that does my numerology, she is an initiated priestess of Oshun. And she does kind of she combines a lot of different things in numerology, but the numerology is her main thing. My Ifa person is my godfather. Is a Babalao, so that's all he does, right? He's very strictly in that lane. And my Akashic Records person is the first person that I've ever gotten. The only person I've ever gotten the Akashic Record reading from was how I became introduced to Akashic Records. And she doesn't deal with or talk or do any of this stuff. So there are three different people. So prophecy, we have intuition, something that's foreseen in the future, insight into a future that is not yet known to current consciousness. Those are good. Those are good ideas of prophecy. So and this is a very interesting question because lately I've been studying the Sibyls. And the Sibyls were considered to be um, the original kind of prophets. It says they were a group of women that were the original prophetess or oracles. And throughout history have had different singular names or have been revered or studied in kind of different iterations, but the group of them are the Sibyls. So it's really interesting that we're talking about prophecy, right? Because what they did was they prophesied or prophesied or, had the gift to be able to see the future, which is essentially what we're doing when we're talking about prophecy. We're talking about being able to see past the right now and see something in the future. Now, the Akashic Records is the ability, or in the Akashic Records lives all events, past, present, and future, right? So when we're in the Akashic Records, we can go to the past, we can talk about the now, and all future possibilities. Now that's what's really important when we're talking about future, which will be prophesying using the Akashic Records, is because it's future possibilities, right? So a few things are going on when we're working the Akashic Record, and without trying to get like super, super confusing. The simplest way for me to kind of look at that is as an individual, one of the benefits of incarnating into this lifetime is that we have freedom of choice. We have free will. We get to make choices. We get to try things. We get to experiment with things, regardless of kind of what we said when before we got here. Once we get here, the world is your oyster, right? You're not free from the repercussions of those choices, but you are absolutely free to choose. So at every single moment, I can make a multitude of choices. So if we're looking at the Akashic Records, and in the Akashic Records, it holds all future possibilities, it's really difficult to use it as a predictive tool because it would have to know, I am definitively going to make this choice. And then when this choice is made, then that leads to this next choice, right? There are too many splinters that happen from one single choice, right? Think of ripples in the pond, right? You throw the rock and it ripples out. Right. So one thing leads to the next thing, leads to the next thing. Everything impacts each other. So it's really difficult to use the Akashic Records for future probabilities. Not that you can, you absolutely can. There is a method to get close to, right? To get close to what that looks like. When people are using prophecy, they're typically using or typically blessed with sight, and they are in a different realm. They're in a different kind of dimension or energetic field, and they're receiving information from a different way. And what was the first one? Ifa. Let me go. I forgot the question. I'm sorry. Okay. Ifa readings deal with destiny, right? Ifa deals with, in this lifetime, choices that you made, and what that road looks like for you based on the choices that you made. The goal in Ifa and having Ifa readings is to get you in alignment with the destiny that you chose. Okay. Where I begin to deviate is it takes that takes the idea, or leans into the idea that the choices that we made pre-coming here are set. And I say that through using tools like the Akashic Record and understanding that we are all divine beings co-creating at all given times, that I have the ability to alter some of the choices, right? Because what we're doing when we're working the Akashic Records, if you had vows, right? You made what's those when you make soulmate, like soulmate relations, like all of those things that might not really be serving you. When you made them, you're like, you know what, I got here, I'm having these experiences, this is great. Free will, freedom of choice, right? So I get to make new choices, I get to heal, I get to deviate, I get to change, all of those things. So Ifa deals with destiny based on the choices that you made in this lifetime before coming to this plane. Akashic Records deal with your soul's choices. So from the point of your original moment of incarnation and all of the lifetimes that you've had since then. And prophecy is the future that is pulling from a more, I want to say stable, that's dealing from a more stable kind of energetic space. And what it's looking at when prophecy is happening, what we are making the key assumption is all things remaining the same, right? So remember, I just talked about in that kind of possibilities, like I can make this choice or I can make this choice. If I make this choice, then am I going to do this one or do this one? Prophecying basically is reading the energy of what the energetic field looks like right now. And it's saying if all things remain the same, right? All of the players that are involved continue to make choices that are in alignment with the patterns that they're keeping, then this is what the future would look like, or this is what the future holds. So I hope that helps, Zena. You can let me know if that was good for you. I think it's God is speaking directly to and through us. I had a pastor try to do it through me. The pastor tried to the pastor tried to prophecy through you. Tell me how that happened, Sammy. There's a school of thought in Ifa that you can definitely change your mind once you get there. Yes, it's coming from the Akash. No. And so why is it not coming from the Akash? It's not coming from the Akash because the Akash contains all future possibilities, right? All future possibilities. Prophecy is all things remaining the same right now. This is the outcome. Was that better? Or is it still unclear? So for an example, we know that I do three types of readings. You might not know. I do three types of readings, right? I do an Akashic record reading, I do intuitive readings, and I do ancestral readings, right? When I am doing each of these three readings involve me going to a different energetic place to receive the information. Okay? In each of those energetic spaces, what I'm reading, remember all things are energy, right? What I'm reading, the energy that I'm reading is based on the field that information is coming from. Okay. Ancestral, I don't want to go into dimensions and have that whole conversation, but we live in a multidimensional world. Ancestral realm is closest to us. When I'm reading that, think of it like this. Okay, here we go. If you're in a building, right? Let's say the building has 6 floors. If I was on the 6th floor, what I see, sense, know, and feel is going to be different than when I'm on the 5th floor. then when I'm on the fourth floor, then when I'm on the third floor, right? So when we're accessing these different energies or deities, whatever they are, we're accessing them at different essentially floors, right? And because we're accessing them at different floors, the perspective is different. Okay. And aside from the perspective being different, the relation to you or whatever the thing is also different. Okay. And so that, because of that difference in the floor, that difference in the perspective, that difference in relation to you is going to always be different. The information that you get is going to be different, not different, have a different slant or a different view, right? So this is also in this idea, like when I talk about understanding what each thing does in your life, right? So I talk about, I don't go to the ancestors to ask them what should I do, because for me, the role of the ancestors is to continue the lineage, right? The role of the ancestors is for the preservation and to continue the preservation of the lineage as they believe is best for the lineage. What they believe is best for the lineage from, 1920 or 1950 or even 2000, if that particular ancestor had a hard life, might not necessarily be in alignment with what I actually want or what I'm trying to do, right? So for me, understanding what an energy's role is important. Y'all, I have taken this all over, but I hope you're with me. So because of that, right? Because I'm clear on the lens, because I'm clear on the slant, because I'm clear on the perspective, because I'm clear on all of those things, what I ask and how I get the information, how I interpret the information, and how I play out that information is going to be different than if I was in fifth dimension, which is where the Akashic Records are, right? Where time is flat. All things are happening, past, present, future, all things are happening kind of at the same time. And I know that the goal of that, the information that's coming from there, is loving judgment of me at soul level. Understanding that all things that I have done, the choices that I've made, that I am absolutely perfect at soul level. And I might be making some choices that are not in alignment with my energy. And now let's figure out how to get them back. Prophecy comes actually is not as high as it's below. Um, ancestors live lower third, higher third, fourth dimension. Prophecy we're typically getting from higher fourth, going into fifth dimension. So for some of you, you're like, what? And that's fine. And then for some of you, you're right there with me. And that's great too. So prophecy is before things are flat like this. And again, it's taking the information of all things remaining the same. This will be the outcome. Okay. And as I think Sammy talks about, and we typically communicate prophecy through, sometimes people channel it, right, in various ways, in various dimensions. Sometimes we do it through various divinatory tools. It just really depends on how that prophecy can come out. Sometimes we see it in dreams, right? That part is broad. All right. So hopefully that cleared it up, Zena. Let's see what else I got. All right, cool. Great. Oh, dang it. My Facebook logged me out. That's where my questions were. Okay, no problem. No problem. If you are with me and you got a question, feel free to drop in the chat. I'm going to go back up to Ayoka's comment about a school of thought and Ifa that you can definitely change your mind once you get here. No, we absolutely can change our mind, because that's the freedom of choice, free will, right? That literally is one of two things that are a benefit, I guess, of being embodied in physical form. One, we have the ability to experience emotions, right? When we are non-embodied, we are, this was another form of another question. Got it. When we are non-embodied, we experience, I want to say bliss, or there's kind of like the devoidness of polarity, right? Here on earth, we experience polarity, and non-embodied, we're typically, because we are in the space where we're connected to source, however you perceive source to be, right? You tend to be more in state of bliss. I'm being careful about the word that I use because people attach certain things with different words. But euphoric, right? There's this euphoric state when we embody. Part of the reason that we choose to embody, one, because life, or here on earth, is like this great big school, so we get to go through and have a lot of experiences really, really fast, and one of those things is emotions, right? But the other thing is freedom of choice and free will, right? We get to consciously make choices that are in alignment or not in alignment, right? The difference is, depending on your perspective or your slant, determines, when we start talking about karma, and y'all know how I feel about the word karma, but when we start talking about how those repercussions from those choices impact you, right? That's when we have to say, okay, what is the based on this particular system or this particular construct, what does my freedom of choice look like as far as the impact to me as we move down the line? So that's the difference. But absolutely, yes, freedom of choice. That's why we're here. We all have it. I made a comment about connected, yes, with someone's oversoul and was overwhelmed with a sense of love. I was curious if I've ever experienced this or have any thoughts. So let me see. You can't be sharing all my secrets. um, so if I have thoughts, so when we connect, here we go. This is the way I can do it. When we connect with someone, depending on what your sense is, right? So remember, I told you can see, hear, feel, know, right? Can be your primary way that you receive information. Smell, whatever your way is, right? If you are someone that feels, when you connect with someone else, depending, no matter what aspect of them you're connecting with, okay? So Zena's particularly asking about the oversoul, which she's a student, so we've really talked about in my group coaching programs, kind of the breakdown of the different layers of the person, right? And so this idea of the oversoul, but your question though, Zena, it doesn't matter what aspect of them that you connect with, right? You can embody or feel whatever that energy is that they have. Why you would feel overwhelming sense of love could be because, remember, at the level of oversoul, that is the person's first point of individuation from source, right? And we know that each person has kind of a particular energy that they resonate with. And one of the energetic imprints is actually love. Okay. So one of the reasons that you could have felt that, or I'm not sure if you had this experience, but one of the reasons that could show up is because that person's true nature, who they are at the core, the essence of their soul is that energy of love. Right. So that could be one reason that you felt it. Another reason that you felt it, another reason that you felt it could be, some people are actually reflectors. Is that the word? When you shoot something back, right? Mirrors, whichever one is the right one. When you shoot something back to someone, right? At soul level, that's kind of how they are. They can be blank um to the outside, right? They can have their stuff that's happening internally, but from an energetic perspective, they basically are always sending back to you or mirroring you, right? So they could also be showing you your true soul essence or your true kind of energetic component, right? So there are those things. I do not, so you asked me, have I experienced this? I do not take on feeling unless I'm missing Like if I'm in a session, I'm working with somebody, or I'm trying to get somewhere. The only way I take on physical sensation is if I've missed it. Like if they've given it to me through word, through sound, through all of these other things, and I've missed it, then they'll give me the physical sensation to get me where I am. Or if I'm acting as a medium, right? And by medium, I mean that I'm channeling a particular energy from someone that has deceased or passed. If I am working as a medium, um, because then their sensations become my sensations, I feel I feel it. But other than that, I do not take on physical sensations, and that has come from lots of training. Um, because I used to do it and it was really debilitating for me. So that is one of the boundaries of kind of no. So the only way I feel at this point is if I've missed the other cues. Um, okay, let's see. Why does the ancestral stuff seem so involved when we have free will? Working with the healer or removing 5 more ancestral lines, too much. Why does the ancestral stuff seem so involved when we have free will? I'm gonna come back to that one. Why would we remove an ancestral line? Yeah, so I don't understand that second part, working with the healer on removing 5 more ancestral lines. I don't understand that. So if you could give me a little bit of context around that, and I will definitely talk to it. But that first part of your question is a little we'll get to it. Hi Bijou. How do you protect yourself from absorbing energy and emotions? So the simplest one of the techniques that I love to teach, I find it to be very simple and effective, um, is what I call an energy bubble, right? My kids do it. I teach it to everybody, and you can switch out or you can make the energy bubble be as elaborate or as simple as you need it to be. Okay. Essentially, though, what you'll do is imagine, sense, see, feel, or know. Okay, wait, I started this way, but they just gave me something else. But I'm going to finish this one. And then I'll give you the other thing that's coming. Um, Imagine, sense, see, feel, or know that you are going to create a bubble around yourself. So what I do is, let's say I am literally like an energy barometer, right? So it's like if we go somewhere, I can feel it, like all of it. It can be too much. It can be overwhelming, right? So if I know that I'm going to be out in public, or I'm going to be someplace where people, I don't really, their energy is a little bit off, I will do this bubble. I do it all the time, but this is an example of when you can do the bubble. Right. So gonna start with centering and grounding. We always start there, no matter what happens afterwards. We always start there. Okay. So we center. That's just a few deep breaths, breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. 3 is a great number, right? But whatever you feel like you need, in order to kind of, what I want to say is it's really about bringing yourself into yourself, right? So being able to kind of find kind of a moment of stillness within the body. That's what we're doing with the breathing. Okay. So we center ourselves with the breathing. Then um, imagine, sense, see, feel, or know. I use all of those because everybody is different, right? You would see or know that there's a bubble that's going to start to form around your entire being. Okay. So I start my bubble at the top of my head. Depending on where I'm going, determines how high and how wide the bubble is going to be. Okay. So I start the bubble, I see it starting at the top of my head, and then I'll just see it kind of start to take shape. Right. And again, see, imagine, or know. So if you don't see it, that's fine. You could just be like, the bubble is at the top of my head, the bubble is moving down, the bubble is okay. Right. With the kids, I actually started them with doing it physically. So putting the hands up and drawing like that, right? And going this way to give them an actual physical practice of creating that bubble. But now they can just do it mentally. So those are all ways that you can do it. So you see the bubble, go and expand outside your entire self. And then basically, remember, energy follows intention. Then you task the bubble with what you want it to do. So in your case, you're asking about absorbing energy, or to keep yourself from absorbing energy. So my bubble is the directive of my bubble is to not allow any energy into my field that I do not want. That's the directive of my bubble, right? Um, Whatever, it can change, it can shift depending on your thing, but that's the directive of my bubble. Don't allow anything in here that I don't want, right? So I get to be out in the world, and that's what happens. You can also put like, make it a deflective bubble. So it's like things that come in. This is like typically when you're going to be in situations or spaces where people are like negative or rude or constantly kind of coming at you and throwing things at you, right? And in that type of situation, my bubble sends it back, right? I actually use mirrors, but same bubble. I just put a reflective coat on the outside of the bubble, right? So that when it hits the bubble, it just sends it back. So that's one way. But another way that you can do it, like physical, like if you don't, some people like that's not a thing. What they offered me to share in that moment was using various like earth elements. So you can use crystals. Typically black ones are really good at either keeping away or absorbing. And because there are so many crystals and they all do so many things, I typically go with something like black. Can't really go wrong with black, right? But again, you have to set the intention. You have to give it a job. You have to tell it what you want it to do, right? Releasing those things could come with water. Water is an absolutely wonderful conduit for whatever it is that you want it to do, right? I always talk about what is it? Hidden Messages of Water. I think that's the name of it, Hidden Messages of Water. But basically the study that talks about like how water takes on the form of shape based on what you're putting into it. So a really simple way to do cleaning after you've like, maybe you've been someplace, you felt like you've absorbed a lot, so this is my hack because life and time is not my friend, right? I got to take a shower every day. Right? Gotta take a shower. There's water. What did I just say? Water was the absolute best conduit that you could ever use, right? So I keep like pre-made like various little soaps that all do something different. Nothing crazy. Right. One of my favorites is I talked about like I have this it's actually this scrub I buy from Whole Foods. But it has like tea tree and some clay and some sea salt, things that are that pull, right? It's already made. So I just use that on those days where I was like, you know what, I really need a cleaning. I use that. I set my intention that as I am taking this bath, I am pulling off all things that no longer serve me, that are not in alignment with my highest good. That's my phrase, right? Things that no longer serve me and that are not in alignment with my highest good. And I tell the water, right? I charge the water with what I needed to do. And that's how I bathe because, again, life, right? So I need it to happen fast. The other thing you can do is, sorry, I just had another. Where did it go? Where did it go? All right, I guess that was it. Oh, the other one was prayer. Okay, yes, it was prayer. So you can simply state, you can put your spirit guides or you can put your ancestral team on notice, like, hey, I'm going to XYZ event, or I'm going to be in this space, or I'm going to do whatever it is. I want you to basically be a fence, right? Be a fence around me so that no energies that are not in alignment with my best and highest good are allowed access to my space, or whatever your statement is, right? So we have to believe that one, there's power in the word, whatever those words are as they come together, that there's power in the word. And two, energy follows intent, right? So always give the directive. All right. So going back up to okay. So the original question was, why does the ancestral stuff seem so involved when we have free will? Working with the healer on removing 5 more ancestral lines. And then we asked about, why are you removing ancestral lines? And then the follow-up to that was negative impact, things making this lifetime harder. I say like generational curses. So again, this is perspective, right? Um, I don't subscribe to that train of thought, right? Um, I don't believe that I am at the I am co-creating my life. I am not at the whim of anything else, right? The only way I become at the whim of something else is when I become in alignment with that thing, right? So the reason we work to understand why certain ancestral traits are showing up, why there are patterns or behaviors that are continuing to kind of run through the line and show up generation after generation after generation is to stop it, right? And we don't stop it by taking away an ancestral line. So one of the key idea when I'm talking about ancestors is I am the sum of all of those who have come before me. Period. Good, bad, right, wrong, indifferent, neutral. I am the sum of all of those who have come before me. If I am the sum here sitting in this physical body of all of those that have come before me, how can I remove something from me and still be me? I can't, right? I cannot go within myself and start to deselect or remove aspects of myself because that's called soul loss, right? And that has its whole own set of things. But what I can do is understand the energies that are in me. And because I am the physical vessel that those things have come together in, now I can heal them. I can elevate them. I can change them. I can shift them because me, not my dead ancestor, I am the captain of this ship. And I get to determine what is going to happen and what's not going to happen, right? So I don't subscribe to we're going to remove ancestral lines. I don't even understand what that is. But everybody has a process. And what works for you works for you. But for me, we're going to heal, right? Because when you remove it, there's a void, right? Anytime you take something away, right? Anytime you take something away, it's now away, right? You got to put something back, right? And what you got to put back has to come back energetically healed, or the thing that you took away is just going to come back because energy always attracts itself, right? What the law of attraction simply is that we attract to us like things. So if I cut something off, but I didn't actually do the work to heal it, to replace it, to understand it, it's going to simply come back because I haven't dealt with the part of me that brought me into alignment with that energy in the first place. Right. We're about to be at 9 o'clock, but I'm going to just jump into this really quickly. So the study of epigenetics, right? Epigenetics. So when I do ancestral lineage healing work, the framework of that, or kind of what I'm leaning into in that one, yes, there's energy work, yes, there's ancestral, yes, there's spiritual knowing, there's all of that. But I like science, y'all. I like it, right? The science just makes all the other stuff better, right? It makes me understand it at a deeper level, which is why I feel like I'm like really effective at it. But the idea of epigenetics says that all things exist in me right now, right? Remember, I am the sum parts of all of those things that have come before me. Okay. They're all in here, swimming, living, being dormant, whatever it is. Then I do something that can flip on the switch of a particular aspect. So I'm going to let me give an example. Let me put an example. Scarcity. How would I put that in an example? Bob's family Bob's family lived through the Depression. Okay. Because Bob's family lived through the Depression, there was a fear around running out of all things, right? There was a fear of it. When the generation that came out of the Depression transitioned into the next generation, maybe the next generation, that energy of the fear of running out of things was still there, right? It imprinted in the body. Okay. It imprinted in the body. The energy of fear due to scarcity imprinted in the body. Now we're a few generations past. The mother, the mother a few generations later, is now hoarding everything that comes. She's like, nope, got to get it, got to keep it, go downstairs, can the vegetables, I don't know how you hoard food, but she's a hoarder, right? She doesn't know why she's hoarding. To her, it just makes logical sense, right? She might have started with one can and then was like, oh, this became convenient. She doesn't know why she's hoarding. She's hoarding because something in her environment clicked on the switch that was in her body that may have went dormant in the generation before her, but something clicked on that switch in her body that activated the fear of scarcity and is playing out for her this many generations down in a different way. Okay. So if, let's say, I wanted to go in and I'm like, you know what? Uncle Bob was crazy. They ain't have no money. They ain't know how to save. I just want to disconnect myself from Uncle Bob and all the shenanigans that Uncle Bob had going on. Right. So I'm going to disconnect myself. Uncle Bob, you are no longer welcome in the lineage. I ain't calling your name. I ain't saying no prayers for you. Nothing. Uncle Bob, be great. Right. That doesn't change the imprint, right? That Uncle Bob's energy, or that energy that was created during that time, doesn't change the imprint on how that is going to be down the line. Right. And let's say we got to, let's call Susie. Susie's the hoarder. Okay. Susie's the hoarder. Right. Susie's children are watching her hoard. Susie's children are like, I ain't gonna do that. That ain't gonna ever be me, right? This is crazy. Life is crazy. This is too much, right? So they have the same gene, they have the same genetic imprint, but the way that is impacting them is different. But then moving down, the imprints don't change. They're just there. So the way that you release or remove the imprint is not by disconnecting somebody from the line. It's by understanding what is the energy that we are all functioning from, and then working to shift that energy so that it is going throughout the lineage. Right? Without working to shift the energy as it's going through the lineage and just cutting somebody or something off, that imprint is still it's still there, and it'll just flip on in somebody else, or you'll be in a setting and you don't even know why, but all of a sudden that light switch flipped. All right. um yeah, Uncle Bob be showing up, right? Bob and Susie. It's funny how sometimes we try, but one child might go towards it and the other one will go against it until they both learn to balance. But it's the environment, right? Dr. Bruce Lipton did a study where he took, and I don't remember now the number, but took like cells, identical cells, and put them in these petri dishes, right? So if identical cells, the idea is that they should all do the same thing because they're all identical, right? No differences, no deviations, no nothing. They should all do the same thing, given the same environment, grow the same way, produce the same thing. And in this study, he changed the liquid, like the environment of the cell, right? And each of the three kind of samples did something different. One grew like bone. The other one grew skin. I don't remember what they grew, but just go with me. The other one grew teeth, right? I don't know. So the same original input created three different outcomes based on the environment. And so this is actually how we started to get kind of into this study of epigenetics, because he was like, wait a minute. So if the same thing is coming out different in these three different things, there must be something else that's going on. And that's when we talk about the environment. So the environment is like our internal body, right? And those triggers that happen for us. And those triggers within our internal body is what activate different things, which is why some people respond to different things different ways, right? But all things are there all the time. And so stopping something or cutting something out doesn't help. And then going back to the original thing, and then I'm done, y'all. Why is the ancestral stuff so involved? It's a choice. That's really as simple as I can make it, right? And that's not just with the ancestral stuff, it's with all things, right? All things are as complex as we determine that they need to be. If today I determined that I only needed to, I don't know, that I could do all things mentally, right? And then I believe that and live that and work through that, then that's what happens. But if I believe that I need to wash the floor, wipe down the table, I don't know, light the candle, do the this, do the that, spend 30 minutes calling names, do all of this, right? Then it is that. So so all things come to choice, right? It's what do you believe? What do you believe? Right? If you think something is, if you think something isn't, they're both right. And so if your belief and your mindset is that this must be this involved, then it absolutely must be that involved. Right? That's why it must be that involved, because that's what you believe. But then if you were like, nope, I don't believe that, right? I operate with ease and grace, then things happen for you with ease and grace, right? The challenge though is that what we say out of our mouth has to be congruent with what we believe in our heart. And sometimes that's where we have a mismatch, right? We have to kind of deal with some of those program thoughts and beliefs. All right. So, y'all, it has been a pleasure. Let me tell y'all what we have happening. So, tomorrow we have the Ancestor 101 class. That's funny. We have the Ancestor 101 class. It is $27. And it basically came because when I do these, I always get lots of questions about the ancestors. And so I decided to just basically create a masterclass around it. And the price point is really reasonable. And we're going to talk about ritualized practice. I don't really remember all right now what we're talking about. But we will be talking about kind of just who the ancestors are, how to venerate them, honor them, elevate them. If I do like the Honor Your Ancestors Challenge. So it's about that. And then how to incorporate them kind of into your daily life, right? Ways that you can incorporate the ancestors into your daily life. So that's happening tomorrow. If you're interested in that, I put the link in the thing. Still, I have 3 spaces left for my retreat. So July 29th through August 3rd, we'll be in Costa Rica. Really digging into our soul self, understanding who we are and how we are, releasing programming, right? Really allowing ourselves to walk in our authentic self. And in that retreat, I will be bringing in sound healing, Reiki energy. There's a massage, food's included, housing is included, all of that is included. We'll be doing guided journeys, all of the stuff, essentially for you to come back clear, rejuvenated. We have some excursions out in Costa Rica. So I have 3 spots available for that. Link is also in the comments. And I think that's all I got, y'all. So it has been a pleasure. We'll be back. So now remember, I'm only here the 3rd. Today is Wednesday, the 3rd Wednesday of the month. Okay. So if you want more of me, you have to join the Chi Healing community. But free open, ask me anything will be the 3rd Wednesday of the month. All right. So have a great night, y'all. Don't forget the like button, subscribe if you have not subscribed, and share. And I will see y'all later. Bye.